She's very cool. She's very cool.
Me gusta. ¿Qué te iba a decir?
Gracias, Aida.
¿Querés
Well, welcome to everyone in this room and to all those friends and family of Aida viewing this video of this service. This is a celebration of the life of Aida Stella Alfonzo, Aida who was known to some of us as Stella. Y ahora lo siento por mi mala gringo pronunciación de español. Bienvenido a todos en esta sala y todos la familia y amigos mirando el video en esta reunión. Esto es una celebración sobre la vida de Aida Stella Alfonzo. Aida's greatest joy in her later years was to be in the company of birds. It was a delight to watch her, holding them, talking to them, loving them with such passion. On her own wings, Aida has now flown on to another place. In her final days, she smiled at every opportunity and was ready for this journey. We trust the flight towards her mysterious new adventure has been beautiful. La mayor alegría de ella en sus años recientes fue estar en la compañía de pájaros. Era un placer mirarla, sosteniendo pájaros en sus manos, hablando con ellos y amándolos con toda pasión. En sus alas propias, Aida ahora ha volado hasta un otro lugar. En sus días finales, ella se sonreía en cada oportunidad y ella estaba lista para este viaje. Nosotros confiamos que su vuelo hacia su nuevo misteriosa aventura ha sido bonito. Everybody here today has different memories of Aida. Such memories are precious. They remind us of the great adventure we all share here on earth. A shared adventure, yes, but also an exquisitely personal one. Aida's passing was unexpected. It was really only in the last 2 months when we found out the seriousness of her condition. And so it is for all of us. We can live to a great age, or we can be called early at any moment. Cada uno aquí hoy tiene memorias diferentes sobre Aida. Estas memorias son preciosas. Ellas nos hacen reflexionar de la gran aventura que compartimos aquí en la tierra. Una aventura compartida, sí, pero también exquisitamente personal. La partida de Aida no se esperaba. En realidad, solo en los últimos días, los últimos meses, fue cuando descubrimos que su condición era tan seria. Y así es para todos nosotros. Algunos podemos llegar hasta una edad avanzada, o podemos ser llamados pronto, cualquiera any momento, cualquier momento. Our gathering here today then is to remember Aida and to cherish our memories of her, but also to cherish life itself with all its trials, with all its bliss. Aida Stella Alfonzo was born in Paraguay in 1950, but lived most of her life in Argentina. The last 20 years of her life were lived in Australia, mainly in Melbourne. Nuestro reunión aquí hoy, entonces, es para recordar a Aida, para apreciar nuestros recuerdos de ella, pero también para querer la vida misma, con todas las tribulaciones y con todos su dicha. Aida Stella nació en Paraguay, pero vivió gran parte de su vida en Argentina, emigrando a Australia acerca del año 2001, al pueblo de Naura en New South Wales y más tarde radicándose en la ciudad de Melbourne, Victoria. Aida lost both her parents when she was young and was raised by her older siblings. She was very intelligent and independent, responsible and hard-working, cheerful, vivacious and positive. Aida, la menor de todos, perdió a sus padres cuando aún era muy pequeña y fue criada por sus hermanos. Ella era una mujer muy inteligente, independiente, responsable y muy trabajadora, alegre, vivaz y positiva. Aida held strong opinions and loved a vigorous debate. Music, poetry and reading were special to her, along with her love of nature. Not only were native birds her pets, but she invited all the pigeons in the area to her balcony. Aida, I know you're listening, and you're probably laughing because you know your beloved pigeons left an awfully big mess to be cleaned up on your balcony. Despite having none of her own, Aida felt a special bond with her children, including her nieces and nephews, whom she considered like her own. Aida tenía sólidas opiniones. A ella le encantaba discutir y defender sus ideas. Amaba la música, la poesía y la lectura, como también la naturaleza. En su casa en Melbourne, pajaritos nativos eran sus mascotas y ella invitaba todos los palomas del barrio en su balcón. Aida, yo sé que tú estás escuchando y quizás tú estás riendo, porque tú sabes, sus palomas se dejaron en lío terriblemente grande en su patio. Okay, where are we? Aunque Aida Stella no tuvo hijos propios, ella tenía una conexión especial con los niños, incluyendo sus sobrinos a los que consideraba como sus propios hijos. We have prepared a photo slideshow of Aida through the years, so let's enjoy that now. Nosotros preparamos un show de fotos de Aida a través de los años. Vamos a disfrutarlo ahora. All of us here have our own personal memories of Aida. We invite you, if you would wish, to share your thoughts and memories with us, your own thoughts and memories with us. Let's start, though, with Brissy, who will be followed by Elizabeth. Todos nosotros aquí tenemos recuerdos personales de Aida. Los invitamos, si ustedes quieren, a compartir sus propios pensamientos y memorias con nosotros. Vamos a empezar con Brissy, que será seguido por Elizabeth.
I am a friend of Stella for many years, introduced by Elvia when Stella came to Melbourne, to live to Melbourne. After she separated from her friend here in Australia when she moved. We might have had a lot of things in common because we became very close friends. We were very much like sisters. We could talk about our infants, our childhood. We talk about our countries in Latin America. So many things to talk with her, many things in common. So we were very friends, I want to say, cheeky friends. We talk about everything. We always have a lot of laugh, and sometimes we have a little bit of an argument. When I met Stella, my daughters were teenagers, very young, and they lived with me, so Stella came to meet my daughters, and it was like an auntie for them. Also, my youngest sister by then had a baby, so for Stella was like her grandson in a way because they lived together. While she was living in our neighborhood, we used to see nearly every day because Stella started working in a shopping center. She had, when we come to Australia as migrants, sometimes, most of the time, we cannot do what we do in our countries. So when she came here, her job here was doing cleaning. And when she moved to Melbourne, and she was arrived not too long to Australia, so she didn't have a car, she didn't know how to drive. Anyway, she started working very hard in a shopping center, and we used to take her to work, and sometimes, many times, I used to pick her up very late at night because she took very late shifts. So all those things make us very close. Later on, when she became more independent, she bought her car, and then she found a place to live all by herself, and she moved far away from us. So we lost physical contact, but we always keep in touch by the phone. And she used to come to visit us on weekends and stay with us over the weekend. In the latest years, though, she got these pets, all the birds. And I was very jealous because of that, she never visited, she did visit me, but sometimes just for the day. We took her back home by then after the day finished. But I was quite jealous because she abandoned me because of her pájaros, birds. Yeah. So I always took her off because of that. You know, when we come to Australia, we lost our families in our countries. So our friends here, the one that we become closer, they really become our family. So Stella, like Elvia, we are our family here. We become family. Stella was always very sweet, very happy, very enthusiastic. And she was so enthusiastic sometimes that I remember one thing that is not here, but I want to tell you. I had people coming home for dinner, and Stella was there helping me. So we went to the supermarket to buy the meat, and we found this meat, this wrapped big piece of meat. And I said, "What is this meat?" And she said, "Oh, that's very good. That's really good. It's very good, good meat." And I said, "Are you sure, Stella?" "Yeah, I know because I cooked it." Yeah, because she was so, very opinionated. I cooked it. So I took the piece of meat home, and what happened was that, what's the name, Silver side. I didn't know that it was so salty. And I prepared like I normally prepare my meat, and I put more salt. And when I was ready to eat, and I was so upset, I was upset with her. I was really upset with her. But it wasn't her fault. It was me, my decision. Anyway, that's one of the things. I think that was the time I was more upset with her. I don't really, we never really, no, we never fight, never. Anyway, last year, because of the COVID, we only kept texting sometimes, and for the birthday we talk on the phone, but I never thought she could be so alone or so sick, because she was sick by then. So I feel a bit guilty that I should have put more effort in contacting her, but I didn't. So I only knew by Elizabeth in March when Stella was in hospital already. I never thought she was that sick. She never complained. Never. Anyway. Well, her problem in the hospital was her heart, and when she was moved from Sunshine to the hospital with the special. They have a specialist on the heart. They find out that she didn't have any solution for her, no operation, nothing. So, but she was always so happy. Her mind was always active. She was always listening to music, and she was listening sometimes to this Argentinian comedian. But she told me a joke one day I went to visit her. A joke from this comedian, and it was very, very, very healthy joke, I would say. Very, very clean joke. Yeah. That's the thing she liked. She was never on swearing or bad thoughts. So she was really, really good person in that way. Yeah. One day we went with John and we were talking, and then I said something about, I don't know, for some reason I mentioned the word varón, and then she said, varón, pa quererte mucho, varón, and she started singing, and then in the end we both ended singing a tango in the hospital. That's what she was. Even up to the last time, she was always positive, she always smiling, making jokes. And one day I talked to her because there was one time they decided to take all the drugs from her. So I talked to the doctor, and the doctor said they didn't expect she would pass the night or the second or 2 more days maybe. That was all what she was going to have. So I talked to her about this. And she was so open person, you could talk to her about anything. And at that moment I said, Stella, are you scared of dying? And she said, no, negrita. She always says negrita is like a nice way to call me, like little ducky, negrita. No, negrita, no, I'm not scared. And I said, Stella, you shouldn't be scared, because I'm kind of obsessed with the idea of this, and I've been watching videos about experiences of people when they die and then they come back to life. And I said, and all of them agree that they go to this beautiful place. They see this white light and they go to this beautiful place, so you shouldn't be scared. I said, I'm not scared. I'm not scared. I said, okay, we are going to meet there, okay? And she said, yes, we're going to meet there. I said, better you be waiting for me there. And anyway, she said yes. So I know she will be there for me. Anyway, I was in here because I wrote this letter for the sister and brothers. That night when Stella passed away, Elizabeth called us. She sent her a text. And so I knew about 4 o'clock, but she passed away 2:37, I think, 2:37 at night. I was sleeping. John received the text, but only when I woke up in the middle of the night, he told me. So from there, I couldn't sleep more, and I started thinking of her and thinking of the time we were together when younger and all the things she told me about her life, her love life, all those things we shared together. And I feel like I was talking to her when I was thinking. So I said, Stella, if you are in the other side and you are happy there, send me a sign. And that was all. And then I was thinking, eventually I got to sleep, and then I got up in the morning because that day I had to work. So I was working in the morning on my computer, working from home. And at some point I took a coffee and I went to the balcony. And when I went to the balcony, one of my plants, my little plant, was turned down. And I really felt that was Stella, because it never happened before. No, with the big winds, never happened that one of my plants turned over or fall. And it didn't fall on the floor, it could have broken, but no, it was on that side, very carefully put. So I'm very sure she's fine. I'm very sure she's happy. And yeah, I told that story to the sisters, and the other thing was, we had many days raining by then, bad weather. I remember the last days I went to visit her in hospital. It was cold and freezing. That day in the morning was beautiful because we had a beautiful view of the sunrise. That was orange color. It was a beautiful day, and it was sunny, and that really gave me the satisfaction to know that she's happy. It was her. And that's it. What I have.
Okay, so for those who don't know, I met Aida in 2006 after we both enrolled in a childcare course. She needed help putting her answers in written English, and I needed help practicing my spoken Spanish. So that's where our friendship began. One of the earliest memories I have of her from that childcare course was when we were asked to create an indoor activity involving imaginative play. Equipped with toys, games or role-play props, we went to the front of the class one by one to demonstrate our ideas. Ada was different, of course. She went out front equipped with nothing but her perfect English, as she would call it. Her idea was simple: to have children get in touch with their senses by imagining they were outdoors in a park. To demonstrate this, she had us all close our eyes. And while we sat there, she verbally walked us through that park, describing vividly the fragrance and colour of the flowers as we would stop to smell them, the pictures that formed in the clouds, the behaviour of the birds, the size and shape of the trees, and the shade they gave us when the sun got too hot, etc., etc. I don't know how she managed it with English as a second language, but she brought that park to life with such enthusiasm that I think we all preferred to stay there than to open our eyes and be back in the classroom. She had an affinity with nature and an affinity with kids. When she played with kids, she became one of them. She played on slides, rode on the scooter, and showed her acting abilities by becoming whatever character the kids wanted her to be. After playing outside, she would sit with them on the sofa, watching movies like Rio or Cars, while massaging their little feet. And as they grew, she spoke with them about the importance of family, education, and working hard to achieve their goals in life. Her openness, her sense of fun, her loving care and positivity towards children were just some of her special qualities. But it wasn't just kids she connected with. She could start a conversation with anyone and took a genuine interest in what people had to say. And even if she didn't know them, she showed compassion when they were experiencing hardship. During her stay in the cardiac ward at the hospital, she shared a room with another woman who had similar health issues. Aida would sing to that lady, and the lady's daughter told Aida how happy it made her mum. After a few days, the lady had been moved to another room. When I'd gone to take Aida home after that first bout in hospital, we passed the room the lady had moved to. Her daughter told Aida that her mother had fallen the night before, and due to a head injury, wasn't expected to live more than a couple of days. I watched Aida sing the same song to the lady, stroking her face and her hair, and then finally she said goodbye. Aida's compassion and care for this woman it was much stronger than any concern she had for herself at that time. And she believed that human touch was invaluable to all people, especially the sick and the dying. She also believed wholeheartedly in the power of women and education. I'm sure my daughter and I are not the only women here that must have been on the receiving end of one of those motivational talks where she'd press her forefinger into our skulls and tell us we needed to make use of your brain. She encouraged us to reach our full potential, which she passionately believed we could do. For those who have already achieved so much, I know she would have had you on a pedestal. In fact, without mentioning names, I know she already had you there. Aida and I were 20 years apart in age, and on many occasions when we went shopping together, I was asked if she was my mother, to which I'd reply no, and she'd reply yes. So it became our own little joke never to clarify. But in truth, I felt we were more like sisters, and she was the younger one in spirit. One of the last fond memories I have of Aida from the hospital was her spontaneous display of pure fun. One day in April, a couple of weeks before her passing, she got tired of looking at the walls of her room. She asked if I could take her out of the palliative care ward for a while. I took her through the hospital in the wheelchair, but she wanted to breathe the air outside. It was a bit cooler than usual that day, and I thought it mightn't be a good idea, but she insisted, and we all know that when it was never a good idea to argue with Aida when she insisted. So off we went. There's about 40 to 50 metres between that exit and the entrance we were heading to. And as we left the building, we felt the breeze and she asked me to go faster. I sped up my walk, but she said, faster, go faster. So then I started jogging and she says, faster, run. I said, well, hang on tight then, and went as fast as I could. I looked down briefly and saw the wind blowing back her hair and thought she'd be happy with my effort. But it wasn't until she stretched out her legs in front of her from under her pink gown and cried, whee! that I knew she was really happy. I ran her down the path in full view of all the people at the car park, and I'm sure they thought we were just a couple of crazies. But the good thing about Aida was she never cared who was around. That was just her. She was spontaneous and could make a good time out of nothing at all. Her personality impressed the doctors and nurses at the hospital, and some of them told me how it was a pleasure to care for someone with such a lively mind and cheerful manner, and that it was her strong will that kept her going longer than they expected. So I was actually told 4 times that she will probably go in the next few days, 4 times. And the first time was in January, so she really did hang on. For everyone here that knew Aida well, you'll know that her life wasn't easy, not in Argentina and not in Australia. Her faith in God is what kept her buoyant enough to keep smiling and not complaining about her hardships. Aida, my friend, my sister. As much as I miss your laughter, your friendship, and the fullness of your personality, I'm glad you're no longer suffering, and that you're now home, in a place where everything might just be perfect.
Tia Stella, the way I met her and I knew her by, she was, so we met around 20 years ago, just before I went to Sydney, and she instantly gave me contacts, people that I could talk to, people that would take care of me, people that would guide me. And then when her nephew came to Australia, we put me in contact with Marcelo and we became really good friends. So my memories of her, I've always been somebody who's very open and caring and trying to help, and always smiling. I always remember her, and I'll choose to remember her as somebody who, whenever I walked into the room, she would smile, tilt her head and smile. She always tilted her head and smiled. And she was always very kind, and I did suffer some lectures, but they were very well earned. I think they were always about making sure that, you know, we did the right thing, and we kept going. Like, it was always about continuing to keep going. So I really appreciate having met her, and I know that she was really good friends with my mum, and she really took care of my little sisters when she was living with them. I'm going to say a poem, and I was actually, when I was reading through the poem in Spanish, it actually sounded like her talking to me, because I've pretty much heard some of these things from her before. Desiderata, de Max Ehrmann. Camina plácido entre el ruido y la prisa, y recuerda que la paz se puede encontrar en el silencio. En cuanto te sea posible y sin rendirte, mantén buenas relaciones con todas las personas. Enuncia tu verdad de una manera serena y clara, y escucha a los demás, incluso al torpe ignorante. También ellos tienen su propia historia. Evita las personas ruidosas y agresivas, ya que son un fastidio para el espíritu. Si te comparas con los demás, te volverás vano y amargado, pues siempre habrá personas más grandes y más pequeñas que tú. Disfruta de tus éxitos, lo mismo que de tus planes. Mantén el interés en tu propia carrera, por humilde que sea. Ella es un verdadero tesoro en el fortuito cambiar de los tiempos. Sé cauto en tus negocios, pues el mundo está lleno de engaños, pero no dejes que esto te vuelva ciego para la virtud que existe. Hay muchas personas que se esfuerzan por alcanzar nobles ideales. La vida está llena de heroísmo. Sé tú mismo, y en especial no finjas el afecto y no seas cínico en el amor, pues en medio de todas las arideces y desengaños es perenne como la hierba. Acata dócilmente el consejo de los años, abandonado con donaire las cosas de la juventud. Cultiva la firmeza del espíritu para que te proteja de las adversidades repentinas, mas no te agotes con pensamientos oscuros. Muchos temores nacen de la fatiga y de la soledad. Sobre una sana disciplina, sé benigno contigo mismo. Tú eres una criatura del universo, no menos que los árboles y las estrellas. Tienes derecho a existir, y sea que te resulte claro o no, inundablemente el universo marcha como debiera. Por eso sabes que es estar en paz con Dios, Por eso debes estar en paz con Dios, cualquiera que sea tu idea de Él, sean cualesquiera tus trabajos y aspiraciones, conserva la paz con tu alma en la bulliciosa confusión de la vida. Aún con todas tus farsas, penalidades y sueños fallidos, el mundo es todavía hermoso. Sé cauto, esfuérzate por ser feliz. Es exactamente lo que ella le diría a todos.
Aida was like an auntie to me. She was there. I met her when I was like around probably 5 years old, and she always cared for me, and she would take me places where I needed or wanted to go. She would take me to the pool, and we would swim together and have fun, and she would take me shopping, and she would get me things. She would get me little cars because I always liked cars. She would buy me cars, and she was a very influential part of my childhood, and she taught me a lot of good things, and she always reminded me to do good things and be a good person, and always follow my heart and what I wanted to do and wanted to be. Thank you.
She's very good. She's very good.
Bien. Musa, ¿qué te iba a decir?
Gracias, Aida.
¿Querés
Aida's beloved pájaros are now going to join us, her birds. Well, at least the sounds of native birds somewhere in the Australian bush. While the birds sing, let's each of us reflect quietly on the life of Aida Stella Alfonzo, our memories of her, and of the preciousness of life. Los pájaros amados de Aida ahora unirán a nosotros en las formas de pájaros nativos en algún lugar del bosque australiano. Mientras ellos cantan, vamos cada uno de nosotros a reflexionar tranquilamente sobre la vida de Aida Stella Alfonzo, nuestros recuerdos de ella y sobre la maravilla de la vida. Aida, thank you for being a part of the lives of every one of us gathered here today and of all your loved ones who will view this video. Here in this room, we will now eat, drink, and gossip about you. And Aida, gracias por ser una parte de las vidas de cada uno de nosotros reunidos aquí hoy, y de todos tus seres queridos que verán este video. Aquí en esta sala vamos a comer, a beber y a chismear sobre ti. And in a few days, your earthly remains, no longer needed by you, will be scattered in the forest and in the sea, as you had asked us to do. Farewell, Aida, as you fly into your new adventure. Y en pocos días, tus restos terrenales se esparcerán en el bosque y en el mar como tú lo pediste. Adiós, Aida. Ahora tu vuelos, tu nueva aventura.
I love you, Lola. I love you, baby. I love you, mommy. I love you, daddy. Muy bien, Lola. Turn around, Lola. Turn around. Turn around. Come on, turn around. You can do that. Ah, bravo.